Carbohydrates. There is a fear that carbohydrates are detrimental to health. As a result, low-carb diets have become popular, especially for weight loss. What are carbohydrates? What are healthy versus unhealthy diet options, and whether a diet rich in carbs is actually harmful? Carbohydrates, or carbs, are sugar molecules. Along with proteins and fats, carbohydrates are one of three main nutrients found in foods and drinks. Your body breaks down carbohydrates into glucose. Glucose, or blood sugar, is the main source of energy for your body's cells, tissues, and organs. Carbohydrates are one of the macronutrients that occur naturally in plant foods, including peas and beans, nuts and seeds, grains, dairy and dairy products, fruits, and vegetables. Carbohydrates are considered essential nutrients for the body to function properly by several global health organizations, including the World Health Organization, WHO. Their primary role is to provide energy to all cells in the body. In the absence of carbohydrate intake, the body will use an alternative fuel source called ketones. The word carbohydrate is an umbrella term that describes various types of sugar-containing molecules present in foods. Carbohydrates have a bad reputation. They tend to take the blame when people gain weight, but are they the true culprit? It's true, there are some bad carbs, but not all carbs are bad. Many carbs are important because they get turned into fuel for your body. Types of carbs. Carbs are a type of macronutrient that's found in certain foods and drinks. Fiber, sugar and starch are considered carbs. Carbs can be either simplex carbs or complex carbs. A couple factors determine whether food is considered a simplex or complex carb. Its chemical structure and how quickly it gets digested into your body. Simple carbs. These types of carbs are digested easily, which can cause your blood sugar to spike. Simple sugars can be found in refined sugars, think white sugar, and added sugars, think a can of soda. But sugar that naturally occurs in fruit and milk also has the added benefit of vitamins, minerals and fiber. Just be careful how much you consume, sticking to the daily recommended amounts of each. Complex carbs. When it comes to complex carbs, they digest more slowly into your bloodstream than simple carbs. Release of energy. This releases a steady stream of sugar that can help you feel fuller longer and provide energy. But you need to watch what kind of complex carbs you eat. Look for unrefined whole grains that are rich in fiber and contain other nutrients like vitamin B. Do you need carbs in your diet? Yes. You can benefit from eating the right types and amount of carbs. Carbs can 1. Provide energy. 2. Protect against disease. 3. Control weight. Carbohydrates are our body's main source of energy. For most people, carbs are an essential macronutrient that provides the energy to get through a busy day. Simple carbs are the bad kind. These are carbohydrates that have many of their necessary nutrients removed. Simple carbs are digested quickly, causing spikes in blood sugar and making you feel hungry sooner. The short-lived fullness leads to overeating, weight gain, and conditions like diabetes and high blood pressure. Popular foods with simple carbs include white bread, enriched or refined pasta, enriched or refined dough, pastries, white rice. Complex carbs are the good kind. They are often packed with nutritional layers like bran and fiber that make you digest them slower. Not digesting as fast also leads to a slow but steady release of glucose, preventing spikes in blood sugar. Opting for a whole grain alternative to some of the above popular foods provides two major benefits. First, you get the same food but as a complex carb and with all the benefits that accompany it. Second, you are less likely to eat something processed that has a lot of added sugars, fibers, starches, and sugars. Carbohydrates are further broken into three more categories: fibers, starches, and sugars. Fiber comes from plant-based foods. Fiber is a complex carb that isn't completely broken down during digestion. Instead, it passes through your intestines and helps digest other nutrients. It also helps you feel full longer, preventing overeating. Good sources of fiber include legumes such as lentils, beans, and peas, fruits and vegetables with edible skin or seeds, nuts and seeds, whole grains such as quinoa and oats, brown rice, pasta, and cereals made of whole grains. Starches are complex carbs. Starches function similarly to fiber. You digest them slower and they provide vitamins and minerals. Starches are also found in many of the same foods. Legumes, primarily beans and peas. Fruits, whole grains, vegetables, primarily corn and potatoes. Sugars come in two forms, natural and added. Natural and added sugars are simple carbs, which means they are processed by the body quickly. The sudden spike and subsequent quick drop in blood sugar is often known as a sugar crash. Your body can't tell the difference between natural or added sugar. Consider this: eating a candy bar provides your body with sugar and not much else. Eating fruit still provides sugar, but it also supplies your body with important fibers and starches. Added sugars might also be called dextrose, fructose, lactose, sucrose, table sugar, beet sugar, honey, corn syrup, turbinado, agave. Benefits of healthy carbs. With all of this in mind, the benefits of healthy carbs become clear. Because carbs are fuel for your body, a lack of healthy carbs can have negative effects. Carbs fuel several organs and systems, such as your brain, kidneys, heart muscles, central nervous system, digestive system. Fueling these organs strengthens them and prevents conditions such as diabetes and heart disease. Additionally, extra carbs are stored in your muscles and liver, so if you don't get enough carbs later, your body still has stored up energy to use. A diet without enough carbs can lead to headaches, fatigue, weakness, lack of focus and difficulty concentrating, nausea, constipation, vitamin and mineral deficiencies. Choosing healthy carbs. You don't have to be a nutritionist or counting carbs to benefit from a diet of healthy carbohydrates. The plate method recommended is a powerful way to focus on healthy carbs. Half of your plate should be fiber-rich and starch-free vegetables. A quarter of the plate should be starchy foods, whether that's vegetables like potatoes or a fruity dessert and fats. The last quarter of the plate should be lean protein. It can be difficult quitting bad carbs. Rather than cutting away pieces of your diet, find replacements for them. Instead of soda, try sparkling water. Whole grain bread. In place of white bread, opt for whole grain bread. With a little bit of work, you can replace bad carbs with good carbs. Carb myths to no longer buy into. Carbs can be a tricky subject. It's hard to know what information to believe. Here, we break down 4 myths. Myth 1: carbs make you gain weight. People often say that carbs are fattening. But complex carbohydrates, like whole grains, are not fattening foods. This myth may spring from carbs' effect on insulin. Eating carbohydrates raises your blood glucose, your blood sugar, and prompts your body to release insulin. This redirects your glucose to cells. But it's the type and quantity of the carbs you eat, not carbohydrates themselves, that cause weight gain. Many carbs contain excess calories and sugar. Examples include desserts, white bread, rice and pasta, and snack foods like chips, crackers and pretzels. These refined carbs are stripped of the outside grain, which contains fiber and some protein, making glucose, sugar, levels spike quickly. Carbs that contain fiber, like brown rice, or protein, like legumes, raise blood glucose more slowly, require less insulin and keep you full longer. But even complex carbs like whole grains, beans and fresh fruit should be eaten in moderation. For weight loss, a basic rule of thumb is to limit your carb intake to about 1 cup per meal, about the size of a coffee mug or woman's fist. Some nutritionists recommend to keep your carbohydrate intake to around 40% to 45% of your total calories. Healthy fats should make up 30% to 35% of your total calories, and lean proteins should make up the other 20% to 30%. Myth 2: only white foods contain carbs. There seems to be lots of confusion about which foods even contain carbohydrates. People often think only rice, bread, pasta, potatoes, sweets and sugary drinks are carbohydrates. Think beyond white foods to get a more complete list of high-carb foods, which also includes sweet potatoes, corn, peas, winter squash, grains, including millet, kamut, barley and bulgur, oats, quinoa, dried beans, brown and wild rice, yogurt and milk, fruit. High-fiber carbs, like legumes, whole grains, starchy veggies and fruits, and high-protein carbs, like legumes, yogurt and milk, provide more nutrients than low-fiber carbs, like refined grains, sweets and sugary drinks. Myth 3: all white foods should be avoided. It's true that white foods like processed grains and sweets are higher on the glycemic index, quickly raise blood sugar and cause inflammation. But other carb-rich foods, considered white due to the color of their inside layer, can be essential to good health. Contents: they contain plenty of phytonutrients, have antioxidant activity and support immunity. For example, potatoes have a particularly bad reputation, but are great sources of potassium, fiber and vitamin C. But stick to the proper portion size, half a medium potato. Medium potatoes weigh about 1/4 pound on the produce scale at your grocery store. Meanwhile, enjoy these other nutrient-rich white foods: cauliflower, potatoes, nuts and seeds, onions and garlic, beans, jicama, ginger, apples. Myth 4: fruit is bad because it's high in carbs. People often say that fruit has too much sugar in it. The truth is that fruit is dense in nutrients. Along with a natural form of sugar called fructose, fruit provides fiber, vitamins, minerals and phytonutrients. But many fruits today are far larger than the recommended portions. That can make your daily calories and total carbs add up fast. One serving of canned fruit, apple, orange, peach, pear or plum, is the size of a tennis ball. A 4-inch banana is one serving, so are 17 small grapes. Choose fresh or frozen fruit, without added sugar, over fruit juice. 2. Fruit juice is more concentrated in fructose but lacks fiber. If you love fruit juice, limit your portion to 4 ounces. The bottom line? Don't write off carbs, they play an important role in a healthy, balanced diet. Pick carbs that are bursting with fiber and or protein, vitamins and minerals, and neglect those devoid of nutrients. Are there healthy and unhealthy carbs? Carbohydrates often get a bad rap due to the association of their excessive consumption with weight gain, obesity, metabolic syndrome, and diabetes. This phenomenon, which some researchers call carbotoxicity, promotes the idea that the excessive consumption of all types of carbohydrates favors the development of chronic diseases. For this reason, many low-carbohydrate diets have become popular among people interested in losing weight or managing blood sugar levels. They are even in favor among seasoned athletes. However, several other studies have demonstrated that the quality of carbohydrates that people consume is as important as the quantity. This finding suggests that rather than all carbs being created equal, some options are better than others for health. Unhealthy carbs. Carbohydrates that people may consider unhealthy because they are less nutritious include refined carbohydrates, such as polished rice and flour. Sugar-sweetened beverages, such as sodas and juices. Highly processed snacks, including cookies and pastries. Inflammation and hormonal imbalance. According to existing research, a diet with a higher intake of these types of carbohydrates and fewer of the more nutritious options can increase markers of inflammation and perpetuate hormonal imbalances in people with polycystic ovary syndrome, PCOS. The excessive consumption of simple added sugars is also linked with an increased risk of insulin resistance, non-alcohol-related fatty liver disease, heart disease, stroke, diabetes, and cancer. However, studies distinguish that added sugars and simple sugars that occur naturally in foods may not have the same negative effects. A 2018 study even suggests that natural sources of sugar, such as honey, may be effective in reducing blood sugar levels and lowering the risk of developing type 2 diabetes. Emerging research continues to shine a light on the adverse health effects of these so-called unhealthy carbohydrate foods. Experts recommend eating a balanced diet that consists primarily of nutritious foods and includes these types of carbohydrates only in moderation. Healthy carbs. More nutrient-dense sources of carbohydrates that people typically see as healthy include fruits, such as bananas, apples, and berries. Non-starchy vegetables, such as spinach, carrots, and tomatoes. Whole grains, such as whole grain flour, brown rice, and quinoa. Peas and beans, such as black beans, lentil peas, or garbanzo beans. Dairy and dairy products, such as low-fat milk, and yogurt. Research has linked diets rich in these complex carbohydrates, such as the Mediterranean diet, with anti-inflammatory benefits, lowered insulin resistance, and a reduced risk of chronic diseases. The researchers attribute many of these benefits to the dietary fiber content of complex carbohydrates. For instance, the dietary fiber in whole fruits improves long-term weight management and supports regular bowel movements and healthy aging. Furthermore, boosting the quality of the diet by including more complex carbs and dietary fiber can lead to improvements in some of the effects of PCOS, such as insulin resistance and elevated androgens. A 2020 review found that the dietary fiber in whole grain foods confers several health benefits, including a reduced risk of heart disease, gut disorders, cancer, and diabetes. Deciding which carbs are the healthiest. The glycemic index, GI, and glycemic load, GL, are two measures that people have used to establish the quality of carbohydrate foods and categorize them as healthy or unhealthy. The GI is a measure of the blood sugar raising potential of a single carbohydrate food compared with pure glucose. Low GI foods, which primarily consist of complex carbs, have minimal effects on blood sugar levels. They include whole grains and non-starchy vegetables. High GI foods include potatoes and foods with added sugars. Glycemic load. Likewise, people use the GL to assess how much a particular meal is likely to increase blood sugar levels. Although people have used both the GI and GL for decades to guide meal planning and manage blood sugar levels for people with diabetes, the science is inconclusive. Many studies suggest that an increased intake of low GI foods improves health outcomes. But other studies demonstrate that differences in daily glucose tolerance and individual responses are responsible for blood sugar levels rather than the GI of the foods themselves. A food's GI may, therefore, not be a direct predictor of an individual's glycemic response. Differences in glycemic response between individuals make it challenging to determine which carbs are truly the healthiest. Since even whole grains may not be a consistent and reliable measure of GI and GL. Are diets rich in carbs good for you? Despite the popularity of low-carbohydrate diets, they are not suitable for everyone, and some populations still benefit from a carbohydrate-rich diet. For example, endurance athletic performance becomes compromised on a low-carbohydrate diet, and a high-carbohydrate intake remains the most evidence-backed choice for elite athletes. Among members of the general population with high carbohydrate intake, significant reductions in blood sugar levels, potentially promoting the remission of prediabetes, occur when the daily intake of carbohydrates is reduced. Therefore, for populations that consume 65 to 75% of their daily calories from carbohydrates, experts recommend reducing carbohydrate calories to 50 to 55% of daily intake and increasing protein. A carbohydrate restriction of 45% or less of daily calories is more effective for short-term blood sugar control. But it may be unsustainable and does not provide greater long-term results than a range of 50 to 55% of daily calories from carbohydrates. Before making changes to their diet, people should speak with a doctor or registered dietitian to determine their specific carbohydrate needs to optimize their health outcomes. Carbohydrates are an essential macronutrient, providing the body with energy and dietary fiber to support good health. Excessive consumption of carbohydrates is associated with weight gain and an increased risk of the development of chronic diseases, such as heart disease and diabetes. Despite their bad rap, however, carbohydrates offer many health benefits. When a person frequently consumes sources of complex carbs and dietary fiber in favor of refined carbs and sugar-sweetened beverages. Also, the ideal diet varies among individuals. For example, a carbohydrate-rich diet optimizes athletic performance. However, Non-athletic populations that consume 65 to 75% of their daily calories from carbohydrates see the greatest reduction in blood sugar levels. When they reduce their calorie intake from carbohydrates to 50 to 55% of their daily energy intake. Carbohydrates are not bad when people manage the amount and types that they consume and tailor these to their specific needs.